Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
My name is Brad Bergman. I live in Bellingham, Washington right now. This is my 24 Days of LEGO Christmas. It's an advent calendar. It started when I worked at a toy store in Mendocino called Out of This World, and I had the windows, 3 windows that I'd take over for Christmas time and make displays. This one and the theater were all kind of at the same time. It started with all the different rooms covered up, so we wouldn't have them all exposed. Only Santa's office would be exposed on like Black Friday. And then the 1st of December, we'd open up the first room and have a little display explaining in the window what was going on in the build. It's kind of hard to follow and jump around, so I can kind of explain. The overall theme is that Santa's trying to replace, modernize with technology, and it doesn't always go as to plan. So the first thing on day one, we started out that the elves are all enhanced AI now. So it's the enhanced LEGO format, ELF. And then these are his elves that we now see working throughout. And I think there's over 120 elves in placement. A couple of the days, this is Santa and Mrs. Claus's bedroom. Obviously, it's right below his office, so he can run up as needed. He's got a hot tub here. The elves are not supposed to be in the hot tub, so he's in trouble. But and you can kind of tell by the larger bubbles that he's up to no good. There's a spider there, and they're cleaning, and we've got Santa's list.
I love the way you did the long list there. Is that just kind of like the hinge clip pieces?
They're all just hinged and rolled together, and I actually had it much longer. It was kind of like trailing down at one point, but it was just too much. And then if you notice, there's some skeletons in Santa's attic. We don't talk about that. Santa doesn't talk about it. We don't ask questions. Day 5 here is Santa's vault. Santa obviously doesn't need money, so at Christmas he gives interest-free loans to parents who might need a little help. He's really bad at name keeping and list keeping unless it's his good and naughty list, so normally you don't have to pay it back either. You'll notice we have a Mission Impossible style guy kind of trying to break into the vault, but if he would just ask Santa for money, he'd get all he needed. We've got a workout room here. We've got like a really swole elf in there. He's just been massively pumping. The guy in the back can do it one-handed. Yoga's going on in the front. Water cooler, of course, stay hydrated. 3 here, we're almost to the end if you were to follow daily. This is the employee work party. Someone has spiked the punch. They've got a disco ball going. He's kicking all the employee gifts off, and he's just out of control. HR's on hand. They're going to try and get him under control soon. Of course, if you work out, you need a shower and clean up, so we've got these guys here. He's putting his pants on, so just give him some privacy. We use the capes as the towels, and then there's a number of them stuffed in the towel bin. Of course, a locker and back. Let's see, here we have an unfortunate health issue among one of the elves in that he's actually allergic to milk and cookies. So he's being carried off and going to be given an EpiPen soon. Day 10, or 18, sorry, it was the stockings, and I had a bunch of custom tiles printed. So there's blank stockings, there's the dyed stockings, which if I were to put those in the back, you'd see they've got vats of dye, and they're actually got a sewing machine in there. This coal that's coming in is being taken out of the furnace. Instead of burning coal, Santa's furnace creates coal, and those go in the stockings for the naughty kids. So you'll actually see like a cart of coal kind of somewhere randomly throughout the whole build. Day 9, in the back there's a little beverage dispenser, but the ice machine's gone overboard, and so the elves have decided to have a snowball fight. The 2 guys on the end have forts, and then this guy got stuck in the middle. Day 16, what have we got here? Oh, after you come out of your creation form as an elf, you get your uniform, and then you go through orientation. I think I might be the only build present that uses the older style minifig with the arms by its side as a CPR dummy. So they're learning CPR for the elves. Coming down here, the second iteration now that I've had a elevator here. Originally there was a staircase winding through the whole thing, but it took up so much space for the daily builds that I just got rid of it. He's got his bicycle. I don't know why there's steam coming from the bicycle, but it's a hard job. NORAD here, so when NORAD's tracking Santa, they're actually getting their data from the North Pole directly. This is the NORAD room, a bunch of custom printed tiles, kind of depicting Santa's progress. Everybody wants a pony for Christmas, so if you ordered a pony or a dog, Santa's got you covered.
This is like the farm section.
It is. It is very clean, if you'll notice. There is no need for cleanup in there. It's magic, right? Unless you're outside with a reindeer, then you do need a little cleanup duty. I said duty. Then let's see, where were we? Oh, so again, technology's gone awry. They're trying to put jets on the sleigh, but it's not going so well. And this guy's about to go flying off into the next room. His jet has detached, and he's in quite a bit of peril there.
I love the use of the lighting that just adds that subtle extra effect there.
Yeah, and the original one that I did in the window display at the toy store didn't have any of the lights, and I realized that because of the depth of this, you really couldn't see into the back. So when I did the second version and kind of changed the rooms around a little bit, I added all the lighting as I built it. So
that's such a good tip I always point out to people is if you've got these interiors, it's such a shame if you don't light it because people can't appreciate all the hard work you put into it.
Yeah, and it was kind of, the idea was having kids come at night too, and so we lit it up at night so you could kind of see it because the town always did a little thing at night. Moving down to the second here, the year that I built this, the second was Hanukkah. So we've got a dreidel, we've got the Seder dinner, and then there's a menorah in the back. Next door is the movie theater inside Santa's workshop. Today we're watching Lego Indiana Jones. So we've got one guy in cosplay there in the front. He had to dress up. I got the little flicker effect, which I was kind of happy with because it kind of has that little projector throwing on the wall, and kind of I couldn't animate it with a phone or anything at the time, so we just did that. One guy's choking on his popcorn, so be careful. Always have water handy. Down here we've got Mrs. Claus leading the school kids through the workshop, and in the back we start a conveyor belt that carries across through several of the different rooms. The toys are coming out of the Toytron 2000 machine, and they kind of go along the back there. There's a couple little jokes in the back along the conveyor belt. One of the kids here is up to no good with his little slingshot. He's going to be doing some trouble later. This is the wreath and lights room. I've always wondered how Santa gets the lights wrapped around all those coils. So we've got in the center, it's a little chair that an elf sits on holding the lights, and then they have a rocket on that chair that spins around to help them wrap the lights.
It's just easier that way.
Well, unless you get dizzy, which he does. And hey there. And just some wreaths and other decorations, so that's kind of what that room's all about. In one of the windows, I had a North Pole built, and the story on that was that the North Pole is actually peppermint candy that grows every year, so they have to keep cutting it back as it grows. And now we've got chunks of the North Pole in here going through the peppermint chipper. And the elves aren't being very careful. They're not following the OSHA guidelines, and we actually do have one fatality this year, which if you're paying attention to the break room, there is a sign on the wall of how many days since the last fatality, and they didn't quite make it to a year. So they're not doing too well on the North Pole this year. That's another technology thing you've got to be careful of. Someone always points out there's a baby on the conveyor belt. I forget, in the back room. It's up to you if that's a doll or someone's getting a new brother and sister for Christmas. So sometimes the stork doesn't always deliver the babies.
Some of it's a choose-your-own-adventure with the story here.
It is, and that's actually really fun. Most of the pictures I took today were shooting over the build at the people and then engaging with folks and say, well, what do you think's going on here? One kid, first time I think in the time I've had this, almost got every single room how I intended the story, but then everybody comes up with their own thing. And I think that's kind of the point of a lot of Lego when you've got sometimes static displays. Everybody interprets it differently. That's half the fun, especially with something about Christmas. My version of the story is just what was in my head when I built it, but sometimes other people come up with better ideas. Like someone said we need to put a Baby Yoda and or Grogu rather, and a Mandalorian in here, so I've got ideas for next year.
Absolutely.
The wrapping room, again, the technology's kind of gone awry. The machine is trying to take over and is threatening the elves. They're scared and they're trying to run out, but that's kind of the culmination of the conveyor belt in the back. Here's the furnace room. Again, we've got the furnace that generates the coal for Santa, so he doesn't have to invest in non-renewable resources. Again, I kind of wanted to highlight those flickering lights and kind of get that fire effect. The bakery next door is not just for Christmas goodies, but it also feeds the elves and the staff at the workshop. That's kind of the goodies that are going on with the employee party. Of course, you need a bowling alley so you can relax, have fun. If you're not having, like your workout, you might want to be in the bowling alley. And then the last room, well, actually the last room on here is we're going mechanical with Rudolph this year because we figure, the brighter lighted nose and actual better tracking. But again, I think my lights are out in the back, but there's some blue liquid that spilled and the machine has become sentient and is attacking the elves. And I always have 24 as the last larger room here. It's the day right before Christmas Eve. Actually, it's Christmas Eve, but it's right before Santa leaves to take the gifts all the boys and girls in the world, but he's giving Mrs. Claus her gift first.
This room feels so peaceful after all the chaos that we've gone through.
Well, if you kind of follow, it's like here's the employee party, they're wrapping up, and then this is the last night. Everything's taken care of. Everyone survived, knock on wood, and Santa's giving her his gift for the year before he takes off to give all the other toys. And then, of course, we've got mayhem going kind of around the rooftops. the back area here. These guys are doing Rudolph, or reindeer rather, are taking turns going into the hot tub. We've got some sledding on the rooftop, which is never safe, and this guy's about to get run over. These guys invested in the jet version of the sled this year, and they're just taking off. We have no idea where they're going to end up. Maybe in the next window or something like that. Sometimes I would tie the windows together. It was a lot of fun. More reindeer. I don't know why they're all hanging out on the roof, but that's just kind of the best way to display them. This one just got fed a carrot, and this one's about to take a bite out of the apple, and the elf isn't quite paying attention. And then, of course, snow blowing the driveway into the door of the workshop, and Santa kind of waving to everybody. I do have a full-size mural that I made, too, that has the Santa, and it says 24 Days of Christmas. I didn't bring it, which is probably fine because it would have been sliding all over. But it's always one of my kind of classic ones that I pull out around the holidays. When I had the toy store, we did it for a little while. I had my own store where we resold Lego, and so we'd pull it out and kind of feature it. And it's just a lot of fun. I love engaging with the kids when they kind of start digging in and pointing and finding the things that they can tell stories about.
Exactly. It's a fantastic display. And so I know we've seen a lot of lighting throughout this. What types of lights did you use? How did you kind of incorporate that into the build?
So like I said, the first version didn't have them. So when I started, I kind of stripped it all back. It is modular. So the top comes off, and then each room is a separate build that kind of separates. You can kind of see the seams. So I kind of stripped it down to the bottom, figured out how I wanted to do it. But the trick was that each of the ceilings, which is the floor of the one above it, has the lights in it. So it was a little tricky to do it that way, but I couldn't really figure out how. I used a company called Life Lights. Yep. I'm not sure if they're using this style much anymore. They have the nano version, I think, that they've got now. I haven't used those, but this is like a 10-year-old light set, and I just have enough scraps that each year I can kind of keep it going. I think it's time to see if I need a few more modules. If you look at the back, the wiring's a little messy. I'd like to clean that up too, but it still works. When I got it here, I came from Washington, so I had it wrapped in saran wrap in the car, and I can see it bobbing in the rearview mirror. I was surprised it actually held well. The saran wrap keeps everything. It came loose in the room, at least, so that was nice. And then half the lights were out, so I had to fidget a little bit with those. But once you find the loose connection, it's normally pretty easy.
You mentioned the stores that this has been displayed in. Will it be at any other conventions or anything like that if people want to see this in person?
It was at BrickCon about 5 years ago. I may bring it back this year because I've made a few changes to it since then. And I have featured it on my Instagram. This holiday, I might actually have it at the store I'm working at currently, if I'm still there. I'm not sure how we would do that because it's not really conducive to displaying toys. It's a hardware store. But a lot of the coworkers I have and people in the neighborhood know that I do Lego, so they want to see it. We'll see. But yeah, I've got a few other ideas. BrickCon's in 2 weeks. I'm planning a bigger style build that's not Christmas related, so hopefully I can get that done in time. I've got that when I get home to pay attention to. Also, lighting is a major element in that. And we're trying a new system this time. So Mike's my building partner, and he's kind of the technical engineer, nerd kind of side of it. I'm a little more of the detail, creative, storytelling side. So yeah, we'll see if we can make it. It's down to the wire. I was hoping to bring it here. It wouldn't have fit in my car, so we'll have to take the minivan next time. But yeah, it's a bit impressive, or not. Well, you tell me if it's impressive, but it's a bit ambitious, I should say, yeah. So we'll hopefully get it done. It has a roller coaster winding through it, and kind of a common theme running throughout too. But again, tons of minifigs and tons of storytelling. So
and you mentioned your Instagram there, so people want to check out your stuff online. What types of things do you post over there?
Yeah, I kind of whatever I'm working on. On Facebook, I'm the Brick Fairy, and then on Instagram, I'm Bricka-Brad. I've had the Brick Fairy for a long time, and Bricka-Brad I just kind of started. So right now it's kind of posting the same stuff. I did do a live walkthrough of the con here yesterday or the day before. So I'm trying to do a little more online, but mostly I just post some of the builds I've had in the past and then new things I'm working on.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to take us through the whole story here. It's a really fun, creative build, so I appreciate it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.